Okay? All right, and then number 5, understand the pending legislation in your state as far as mandated vaccinations. And this one is a heavy one, okay? Because the main question that I get, Glenda, if I don't comply with these mandatory vaccinations and coming back into the office full time, will I lose my job? That's the biggest question I get. Will I lose my job, right? And that's a hard thing to answer because there's so many variables with that. It depends on your particular role, not coming back into the office, and if that creates an undue hardship, is what we say, an undue hardship from a financial standpoint for the employer. But let me just give you the facts, okay? So right now for private, and I'm only speaking for private employers. So for private employers, they can require a mandatory vaccination, but there are some things with that, okay? So there are exceptions to these mandatory vaccinations. There are exceptions for religious reasons and religious beliefs under the Civil Rights Act. And there are exceptions as far as disabilities are concerned. So some people who may have disabilities and are not able to get the vaccinations and get the vaccine under the Disabilities Act and under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, they have there are exceptions to this mandatory vaccination. Also, there are about 19 states that have exemptions for philosophical or ethical reasons, right? And I'm going to post this information, the state information, on my site. But now, according to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, so this is the commission that makes sure that people are not discriminated against, right? An employer has the responsibility of determining if an unvaccinated person creates they call it a direct threat. So what is a direct threat? A direct threat is someone who creates a significant and a substantial health risk to someone else. So we as employers have the responsibility of determining if an unvaccinated person is creating that threat. And if they are, they have the ability to say you can't come into the physical workplace because you are creating a direct threat of health and well-being to other people in the workplace if you're not vaccinated. And they can do that. However, but they cannot exclude, and this is facts, they cannot exclude the employee or take other action unless there's no other way to provide a reasonable accommodation. And a reasonable accommodation includes teleworking. So again, these are for my folks that are teleworking. If you have currently been teleworking and you've been efficient, you've been hitting your numbers, those are grounds that support there is not an undue hardship and it is a reasonable accommodation. And that reasonable accommodation is eliminating and reducing the risk. Also, the EEOC guidance says that an employer cannot automatically fire the employee. Instead, they have to find a reasonable accommodation. Telework is a reasonable accommodation. Okay? But there's pending legislation in every state right now pertaining to employer mandated vaccinations. And I'll tell you, the pending legislation right now is intended to prevent employers from requiring mandatory vaccinations. And it's also, the pending legislation is also intended to prevent current and prospective employees from being discriminated against and from receiving retaliation if they don't get the vaccine. So it's important that you pay attention to what's going on in your state. Because from what I'm reading, the legislation is designed to protect from discrimination and retaliation. So if you do have concerns, which you rightfully have, as it relates to the vaccine, there are rights that need to be protected. And so I'm going to send you, someone sent me, and it was so such a great comprehensive list. I have a list of the pending legislation that's in place for all of the states in America that's on the table right now. And I'll tell you, I live in the state of Georgia, and in Georgia, it's House Bill 413 in Georgia. We are right now, there's legislation on the table to prohibit mandatory vaccinations. And I'll give you a list of mandatory vaccinations for school attendance, professional licensure, basically many instances. It's designed to prohibit it, but there's a kind of a give back, so to speak. They would allow mandatory vaccinations only if the vaccine is fully FDA approved and goes through the proper clinical trials, investigations, and clearances that the FDA has set up, only if it gets fully FDA approved. So the state of Georgia, if you're in Georgia, Georgia has legislation on the table that recognizes that this is an EUA, basically an emergency use situation. We're in a crisis situation here. And also in the state of Georgia, it will provide an exemption for people who have philosophical beliefs against the vaccination. So it is really important, and I'm not going through all the states right now on this live, but it's very important that you understand where your state legislation and understand what bills are on the table, because it affects you, especially if you're not comfortable getting the vaccine or if you're not comfortable going back into the office full time. This affects you. Okay. I know that was a lot, but this is a heavy topic. If you have questions, definitely contact me, Glenda@thebizslayer.com. Again, the 5 things you need to do: talk about the COVID trends. Talk about the FDA, the situation with it being a EUA vaccine and not FDA approved. Talk about the OSHA guidelines. Understand your company's goals and come to the table with a solution. And start thinking ahead about, hey, what would make me comfortable? And understand the pending legislation in your state, okay? 5 things. Any questions? I want to quickly give a shout out to a few people, a few companies. I want to give a shout out to a company called Grass Fields for my African print shirt, Grass Fields. This company is owned by 2 Cameroonian twin sisters. I believe they're based in London, the UK. So thank you for my shirt. I love it. So you definitely want to check out Grass Fields. I hope I said Grass Fields and not Grassroots. Grass Fields. Check out that company. Also, if you like my glasses, I partner with a company called Vogue Me, and I have a discount code. So if you like my glasses, during my BizSlay Q&As and on my social media, you want to go to my site, thebizslayer.com. On the bottom of my webpage, you'll see a picture of someone with an ad with the glasses. You click on that ad and you will get a 10% off discount on your eyeglass wear if you use my promo code, which is the BizSlayer, all one word together, the BizSlayer. So you definitely want to, if you like my glasses, who doesn't want a discount? So use my promo code. I partner with this company and it's been an amazing ride and I love their product. So you definitely want to get your discount, use my promo code, and you can get your glasses. Any questions? I know this was a lot. I know this is a lot. Someone asked, when is the best time to talk with my employer? After you've done your research, after you've done all the 5 steps that I just suggested. But what I will say is you definitely don't want to have the conversation in the height of your emotion, because I know some of you have had a lot of some of you have had some conversations, not a lot of conversations. Some of you have had a lot of conversations with the going back into the office protocols, and it invokes a lot of emotion, right? So you definitely don't want to have that conversation in your emotion. You want to have that conversation after you've done your research, after you've kind of thought through what would make you comfortable, what your concerns are. You had your data. after you've done all that, and find out what the full protocols are. So before you have the conversation, I would suggest you ask a lot of questions. Ask questions about the protocols. Ask questions about why the company is going back to being in the physical office, because then that's going to help you structure your answer. Okay? I'm going to post this on my site, thebislayer.com, and on Facebook, and I'll probably will do some highlights on Instagram. This was a lot, right? So again, if you have questions, this is good. This is important. But if you have questions, email me, glenda@thebislayer.com. Okay? Yes, everybody have an amazing, productive, prosperous day and weekend. Okay? All right.